Today's episode is presented by LodeStar, the fee experts.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of Lending Leaders. I have a great guest for you today, Dave Savage, Chief Innovation Officer at Trust Engine. Dave, thanks so much for coming on the show today.
Yeah, no, it's great to be here. I'm looking forward to the conversation.
So you're, everyone calls themselves a visionary, but I would definitely put you in that category in the industry in terms of what you've done with Mortgage Coach, the other companies that you've started and run over the years. Really curious to start with kind of your focus on innovation, right? In the mortgage industry, isn't that just spitting into the wind?
Yeah, no, I've always had a passion for innovating, stealing the quote from Wayne Gretzky, where the puck is going and skating to it before everyone else. It's just always been a natural thing.
I have another Wayne Gretzky quote behind me is you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So
exactly. I use both of those in my head all the time.
Yeah. We're probably going to hit a record for quotes in this interview as well. So I'm looking forward to it. So what does it look like, especially over your career, right? What does innovation look like? Where have you seen things go well? Where have you see, struggles?
Yeah, well, there's been there's been more than two innovations, but the two things that I think of mostly when I think of the mortgage industry, and I guess I'll throw in a third, is I started in the late '80s and took a handwritten app, hand that off to someone that used a typewriter, and if they made a mistake, they had to start over. And when the LOS came out, that was a big deal, and and a huge innovation. And then there's been innovation, but I've always felt like it's been slow. Obviously, in 2000, I think it was 2007 when the iPhone came out, just a massive acceleration of technology, of innovation. Not only did that enable the experience we have today with consumers, but that also has massively improved a loan officer's ability to deliver the right message at the right time. It is kind of interesting from a pricing standpoint. I've always felt we've been a little behind the curve, and like a pricing engine, didn't have fees in it. So that has really been broken up until fairly recently. But the other big innovation is when the rocket went off during a Super Bowl commercial, which while there was a lot of technology powering that, let's face it, there was a lot of marketing. Like, hey, consumers, you can push button and get mortgage. But that is where I really feel like the arms race started. Like the industry started going like, whoa, and a lot of the technology was there to do that. But we're in this era right now, and I call it like we're in this digital shift era. And I would say that it started in 2007. I do think by 2027, how we do loans and and the efficiency in which we are able to both manufacture a loan and optimize a database, it'll be somewhat unrecognizable. By 2027, that's just kind of a benchmark that I have in my head, where things will be very, very different, much more efficient, much better. And for innovators like the two of us that have technology that helps power a lot of that, I think we're going to be pretty happy with where things are at by that time.
I think one thing that I've always struggled with looking at innovation in mortgages, it seems like the industry lags behind where technology is. Digital closings is an example of that. That technology has been around probably for 10, 15 years, right? Digital signatures, a video conference like we're doing now, right? So why hasn't it been adopted, right? You run into kind of hard business issues of things that are going on. So, where do you see that going, where kind of the industry is slow to accept technology that is already there, but there's technology factors that are slowing things down?
When I first, coming out of the meltdown, 2007 to 2010, I call it that meltdown era, lenders started, getting better at, first of all, not getting better. They started actually making more enterprise technology decisions. But I would say they've gotten a lot better, first of all, getting people from outside the mortgage industry that have come in from other industries that are true technologists. Um,
Hmm.
it's happened. It used to be like, selling tech to the mortgage industry,
Yeah.
everybody in the C-suite and everybody in the decision-making role, was a loan officer once upon a time, and the person making the CRM choice was their top producing loan officer that had a way that they like to do things. And they were either
Yeah.
driving that decision or sometimes they were promoted to that position. So I think we're now at a point where there's enough outside blood, enough innovative lenders that we're going to see a real acceleration in both lenders making
Hmm.
better technology decisions and then lenders implementing those better. Although the mortgage
Hmm.
industry still provides some unique challenges that other industries don't
Yeah.
have when it comes to
Mhm.
implementing new processes and new technologies.
Yeah. I think going off of that too, in terms of, the challenge for technology for lenders, one lender once told me that there's, I think, 45 different vendors that they have technology wise connected with their LOS one way or another. Right. And there's so many niche players, ourselves being some of them. But you talk about the LOS getting created, the POS kind of getting created with Rocket Mortgage, right? Is that going to go away in terms of the number of vendors to deal with? Like, will this ever really get consolidated?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm a big believer in best practices. If
Mhm.
someone does too many different things, they're good in a lot of things and not great in
Yeah.
anything. And I'm a
Mhm.
big believer in companies that in technology providers, like both of our businesses,
Yeah.
that like, we're best practice in what we do, but yet we're very thoughtful about how we integrate with other technologies so that we're
Yeah.
providing the consumer with a seamless single login experience. And we're
Mhm.
providing a lender with the ability to leverage a lot of different best of breed technologies, but leveraging APIs so that it really is seamless. Do loan officers have too
Mhm.
many logins today? Absolutely. Do
Yeah.
I think the number of logins will shrink? Absolutely. Do I think the logins are going to shrink mostly because one company is doing it all? No, I think they're going to shrink because more
Right.
companies like ours, and I always think of
Yeah.
you as a real innovator around integrating into a best of practice platform, but because
Mhm.
more technology companies are like ours, where, hey, like we can
Yeah.
integrate together and give the loan officer, a single login workflow experience. And then
Mhm.
we can work together to give the consumer a more unified experience. So yes, there's less logins, and
Mhm.
that's just kind of where we're at. We're in the middle
Yeah.
of this
Right. So
change,
not fewer
and
companies, just better integrations.
yeah. I mean, maybe fewer companies too, but I don't think that is
Yeah.
going to be vastly different. I mean, in some ways, there's a case to be
Right.
said. There'll be more niche companies solving, disparate problems in unique ways
Yeah.
that integrate. So
Mhm.
I don't, I think that's the innovation doesn't come from the shrinking of companies. It comes from the
Right.
integrations of how we all
Yeah.
work together.
And I appreciate the compliment too. I think I basically have bet the house on being really good at only one very specific thing. So
Yeah.
we will see
Yeah.
what
And our
happens.
mutual
But
clients say great things about what you guys are
yeah,
doing. So we love it.
I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm to use another quote. You got a niche to get rich. So that's very much been kind of our philosophy over the last 11 years.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, and that also goes true for
Mhm.
the for lenders. I'll say it a different way.
Mhm.
There's riches and
Yeah.
niches, and
Yep.
and I so we align. I mean, I always stayed in my lane with Mortgage Coach and just wanted
Mhm.
to be that best of breed platform. And now with Trust
Yeah.
Engine, we're not getting in the
Mhm.
CRM space. We want to
Right.
be the best at being predictive and delivering a borrower
Mhm.
educational
Yeah.
experience.
And going off of that, I know you've launched First Home IQ, which you said was to turn loan officers into the first responders of the financial literacy crisis. So
Yeah,
how do you see that now playing into the role of loan officers, their ability to niche, and what their role
yeah.
is really going forward?
Yeah, well, first of all, when I, got out of high school and college, let's just say went through my 20s, I did not
Mhm.
come out of that period financially literate
Yeah.
or understanding how to plan for home ownership. And nothing's changed, like I graduated
Hmm.
in 1983 from high school and nothing has changed.
Hmm.
People still are not coming out of their
Yeah.
20s. Prepare for that. And there is a financial literacy crisis in America. There
Hmm.
is a affordability crisis in America. And I do believe that mortgage professionals, both loan officers and lenders, we're very uniquely positioned to be those first responders to this crisis. And so First Home IQ is something that I co-founded with Kristen Messerly and Todd Bookspan. Kristen
Mhm.
is the executive director, and she's organizing, created a community, created a First Home IQ quiz
Mhm.
that any first time home buyer can take. Although we really targeted it for Gen Z, less than 25-year-olds, but a 32-year-old, a 38-year-old, a 40-year-old can get tons of value
Mhm.
from it. But I do think the mortgage industry, like we can help solve this problem in America if we organize well, we work well, and then also work with realtors, people in housing, loan officers and
Yeah.
realtors working together to go out
Mhm.
into the community and educate the next generation.
Yeah. And you talk about technology changing a lot over that 20-year time period ending in 2027. Um, do the roles of loan officers, do the roles of realtors change too during that period of time, especially with some of the recent news?
Yeah, well, I mean, again, think 2027. Although I
Mhm.
do think 2025 is going to be a big milestone year for the real estate industry because,
Yeah.
some of the seismic changes happening in compensation, primarily as a buyer's agent, but it's going to
Mhm.
have a halo effect around the entire industry where the general public is,
Yeah.
they're thinking it and they're asking it, how are you worth six 6 points on a purchase or 5%
Yeah.
on a purchase? And for
Mhm.
a buyer's agent, how are you that valuable? And so I think there's going to be a tremendous amount of innovation come in. There's going to be new players coming in.
Mhm.
Maybe title companies and attorneys are going to start playing some of the role of the buyer's
Yeah.
agent. I do think there'll be lenders. I interviewed Mitch Kiter a couple weeks ago. He's compliance guru, and he said he thinks it's going to happen faster. It's going to be 2005, and so I think there's going to be a tremendous amount of innovation take place over the next few years, and not only will technology play a part in that, but I also think just how we deliver housing to America needs to be more efficient, and it will be more efficient, driven by both technology and, in this case, a lawsuit over how the real estate practice is being done.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that could change too is the buyer's realtor is always really controlled that customer, right, and controlled where they go mortgage wise, title wise, and now allowing more players to kind of win that race to the consumer, and hopefully deliver value could be a really good thing too.
Yeah, no, I think it's really exciting, and I do want to focus on price a little bit, just because I do think
Yeah,
when you look at overall, the success of companies, customer satisfaction scores, and when you look at what's impacting
yeah,
customer satisfaction scores, in many cases, it's how well communicated that price was, and how well understood that was from the very point of sale
mhm,
through the close. It
yeah,
also has a tremendous amount of impact
mhm,
over conversion, lead to loan, and it also has a tremendous
mhm,
impact on profitability and price exceptions. There is a profitability crisis in the mortgage
yeah,
industry, and the two biggest
mhm,
factors that are controllable. I mean, there are things that are not controllable, but the controllables are conversion and exceptions. And so I just think some of the
mhm,
innovations your company is doing, some of the things that we're doing,
yeah,
um, are really important. And I do think by 2025, for sure, by 2027, there will be the haves and the have-nots in the mortgage industry. And the haves
yeah,
will have these incredible tech stacks that deliver this incredible experience to a consumer, and it will be optimizing profits through both optimizing conversion and price exception. So, anyways, I
mhm,
do think like you and I, like we are at the tip of the spear in a very important way.
yeah, absolutely, and that's one thing we've been seeing a lot over the last few years is typically people say, "Hey, just put fees on the loan estimate. Once an application comes in, that's fine." right? But now as the market gets more competitive, and will probably stay that way for a while, they want fees sooner, right? With the scenarios in Mortgage Coach, with pre-application, how are we getting the borrower to see their monthly cost, their interest rate, their cost to close, right? We need to get all of that information to them as soon as possible, because if we're vague or we come in too high because we're overestimating, we're going to lose a deal.
Yeah, well, there's two experiences being caused there, because I interview a lot of loan officers multiple times a week. I've interviewed a loan officer for over 15 years at our Mortgage Coach YouTube channel, and the kludginess of pricing a loan. I've got to go into this platform. I've got to go into this platform. I've got to go here to get. I mean, like it doesn't need to be that kludgy. It doesn't need to be that confusing. And by the way, I mean, we take a lot of pride with Mortgage Coach of not only providing this incredible consumer borrower experience, but like, how can we make pricing a loan more accurate, easier, and more compliant? And we can.
Yeah.
I mean, you and I are doing that together for our mutual clients.
No, absolutely. And you're one of our early on partnerships outside of the LOS space too. So it's been a really good partnership over the years to kind of drive that going forward. So at a recent conference, kind of the theme was, survive till 25, right? And I'm going to go out on a limb and assume that you kind of disagree with that. One of the quotes that you said was, never let a good crisis go to waste, right? Which is Winston Churchill. So, what can companies be doing now over the next year or two to, not just survive, but, really hit the ground running?
Well, first of all, I think 2024 is going to be a pretty darn good year in the mortgage space. But I'm going to be releasing a LinkedIn article next week. The week between, because I don't know when this podcast is going to go out. Maybe that article will have already been released. But one of the top interviews that I did last year was called Moneyball Mortgage. And it was all about taking some of the concepts from Moneyball, the movie Moneyball with Brad Pitt, and I would really push everybody in mortgage, like, watch that. Like, when you watch this podcast, I mean, it's a Brad Pitt movie, it's a great movie, but my advice is to broaden the number of metrics and how you scorecard and dashboard loan officer success. By and large, lenders scorecard loan officer success by how many loans they close and what their volume is. And by the way, that's the reliance on loan officers and the way lenders have not really managed efficiencies are part of what has slowed down the innovation in the mortgage industry. So my whole belief is, if you're playing Moneyball Mortgage and you ask me a question like, what should you be doing now, is you should be measuring conversion and scorecarding that, like, lead, credit report to loan app to closing, that measures customer value, that measures a loan officer's ability to deliver an incredible borrower experience. It drives profitability massively, and lenders don't measure that. Most loan officers don't know what their conversion is. The branch managers don't know what their conversion is. And, so a key metric in Moneyball Mortgage is start gamifying and making conversion a leading metric. And two parts of conversion, the conversion of, hey, I started talking to a borrower, I ran a credit report, are they trying to do a loan? And then your database, what percentage of the loans in your database are you converting monthly? And then, the other part of Moneyball Mortgage is measuring price exceptions. Let's face it, the loan officers that have the fewest price exceptions are delivering the most valuable experience to the consumer. They're not getting shopped. And by the way, I'm talking within a company. So you can say, oh, this company has higher rates than that company. But if you're in the top 10%, least exceptions, most profitable loan officers within a company, you're the most valuable. So I think my message to everyone is, start playing Moneyball Mortgage. Don't just measure closed loans, production, start measuring conversion, credit report to loan, and gamifying that with your loan officers. And if people really started measuring these other metrics and playing Moneyball Mortgage, they'd be profitable right now. Like, in the most brutal market, there are lenders and there are loan officers that are incredibly profitable because they're incredibly efficient.
So Dave, last question that we always ask people is, what is your LodeStar? What is your kind of guiding light motivation for doing all this work, starting these companies, innovating, changing the entire borrower experience like you're working on?
Gosh. Well, I know my two words for 2024 are going to be obsessed with impact. I
Mhm.
have always, like in my career, really cared about people and
Mhm.
really wanted to help people. The actual name, the company name of Mortgage Coach, not everybody knows it, but it's on Mortgage Coach. Mortgage Coach is a DBA
Mhm.
of Wow Tools. Like
Mm.
that was the corporate name of Mortgage Coach. And then when we took it to market, it was, we came up with that.
Yeah.
But wowing people, creating impact for people has always been my drive. Now, given the unique seat on the bus I've had at Mortgage Coach, I've really got a front row, view into how broken America is in terms of how we get into debt, how we use debt. My entire career, debt has been used unstrategically by
Mhm.
most. But you know what? Some Americans use it really well. Like
Yeah.
they understand that, hey, I can buy
Rich
a
people.
home,
Yeah.
I could prepay the mortgage and pay it off faster,
Mhm.
or I could,
Yeah.
invest that and achieve
Mhm.
financial freedom faster. So, today, it's obsessed with impact, but it's financial freedom lending. It's really, my mission is to, with First Time AQ, educate Gen Z, with Trust Engine, um, turn loan officers into data-driven mortgage advisors that really help families achieve
Mhm.
sustainable ownership and achieve that with financial freedom.
Mhm.
So make impact and
Yeah.
improve how people get into debt in America is my driving purpose and
That's
why I'm
great.
still
Make tools that wow
incredibly
people.
motivated.
Mhm. Well, that's
What's
it.
that?
Like you were saying, make tools that wow people, right?
Boom.
Yeah. Well,
And create value.
mhm.
They wow them and they create long-term sustainable value for that consumer. I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. We've got a YouTube channel. The Mortgage Coach YouTube channel has about 22,000 followers. And it's a place where we're turning loan officers into data-driven mortgage advisors, and then trustengine.com and firsthomeIQ.com. Check it out. I appreciate you and thank you for all the innovation you do. And I love working with your team and working with all our customers together.